So we're here this morning to introduce the community to our efforts to bring together the community for the next year to focus on those families, those individuals that haven't had their homes repaired, that aren't ready to go back into their homes. So United Way is helping make this possible. We are working with the Midlands Flood Recovery Group, 45 local, national, regional partners that have participated in our work. But we also want to hear from some of the other organizations, some of our community leaders that have been working with us. So this morning, joining me in this presentation, Greg Pierce from Richland County, Chairman of Richland County Council. Vice Chairman, I'm sorry. Vice Chair, excuse me, Greg.
Thank you for the promotion.
Teresa Wilson, Columbia City Manager, who we work very closely with, Stuart Mungo, Chairman of Mungo Homes, and Michael Season, our own board chairman at United Way, who's a partner with McNair Law Firm. But the reason to bring you to here this morning is to, again, to announce and to introduce you to Restoring Hope, South Carolina. And that is going to be our theme for the next year. We have had a tremendous event here in South Carolina a year ago. 27% of the destruction that occurred in South Carolina occurred in Richland and Lexington County. FEMA reported 43 natural disasters last year. Almost 50% of the claims came from South Carolina. So our event here, the flood event, was an epic event. It was a historic event. And we've still got a lot of families and individuals that need our help. And what we want to do is bring the community together to address the needs that still exist here in the Midlands. And we've got these partners that are willing and able, but we need the community to get behind this. We need the same energy, the same enthusiasm that this community, the Midlands, demonstrated on October 5th. We need to restore that for the next year so that we can get more families settled back into their homes. So far, we've put 86 families back into their homes with working with groups like St. Bernard Project and Homeworks and all of the VOADs that have come into our community, and local churches and faith-based organizations, corporations that have been willing to support getting families back into their home, but our work's not done. We need to put our foot on the gas pedal, and we need to accelerate getting families back into their home. And we think we can do that. We think the spirit of the Midlands is the right call to make to get our community behind this, and we know with the partners that we've got that we can make that happen. I do refer you to restoringhopesc.org. A lot of information there. We want to get the community engaged, and we think we've got the partners in place to make that happen. So without further comment, I'd like to turn this over to Teresa Wilson, who's going to make a couple of comments about the relationship with the city. Thank you, Teresa. Good to see you.
Good morning. It's quite humbling to stand before you all almost a year later to the date from the disaster that we all faced and experienced. And I see so many friends in this room who we all helped and came together, not the least Matt Bennett and the United Way. From that first morning to now, we've been in lockstep and working together. So thank you, Mac, and your wonderful team. We know that there is still so much more to be done. The human toll and the impact that's had on this city is not lost on me nor our mayor and council members. I don't think a day passes by that we don't talk to families or members of this community who in some form or fashion still need assistance. And we need assistance at the city proper. You know, the infrastructure needs of our city are massive, and we are working through those with all the federal agencies and FEMA and our staff, our wonderful staff at the city, led by Missy Kaufman, who's in the back and always helping me message so much information. But she is our budget and program management director, who's acted as our flood czarina, I call her, in this last year, and she's doing a phenomenal job in working with the United Way and a multitude of nonprofits who have assisted us. City residents have an estimated $47 million remaining in unmet needs. That's a huge number. That number does not encompass the millions of dollars that it's going to take for us to rebuild the city's infrastructure and work with our public agencies, fire and police, as you hear the wonderful parade going down the street this morning, to make sure that we have our resources internally where they need to be for years to come. As much work has been done to date, many are still determining what are their next steps and how to rebuild not only their homes and businesses, but also their lives. United Way, as I mentioned, but also Salvation Army, Helping Hands, Cooperative Ministries, and St. Bernard Place, and many others have come together with countless individuals, churches, and civic groups to join together to help us rebuild our community, and we thank them immensely for their hard work. We need your continued help and support, as Max said, to not only rebuild our community, but to also make our community stronger than it was ever before this tragic event, to mitigate damages in a way that we don't see them happen again. It is the acts of courage and support that will make our community resilient, and that's a word that I've continued to use since last year. As I mentioned, the October 2015 flood resulted in extensive damage to residential and business property, as well as infrastructure throughout the city of Columbia, and recovering from this historic event will be a multi-year process. To help you follow the process at the city, we do have a flood recovery dashboard. If you go to our homepage, you can access that, and that really details the cost, the work that's being done, and how we have to dot our I's and cross our T's on getting reimbursement for a lot of dollars that we're submitting. In addition, the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program that you've heard of has received funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, and we have submitted our action plan and look forward to that action plan being reviewed expeditiously, we hope, because that is really the turning point, we think, for some families, if we can get that $19 million that the city was allotted. But it is certainly a process, and we are trying to meet every deadline. But again, to learn more about the flood recovery efforts and how the funds will be used, please visit the dr.columbiasc.gov website. Thank you.
Timing is everything, and this could not have come at a better time. We have worked vigorously now for a year, and we're sort of in a lull right now. All the documents have been submitted. Every dollar that we could potentially find from every federal, state agency has been looked for, and we're waiting right now. And that waiting is not comfortable for the people who you see that lived in these photographs. It's interesting why they didn't select me necessarily because I'm the vice chairman of county council. My county council district is a microcosm of this flood. Let me just take you on a quick tour. It begins right below the Cary Dam. It then includes 5 dams, 3 of which failed. It includes neighborhoods that suffered from an additional dam that failed. It includes all of the businesses around Trentham Road. It then goes over and picks up the infamous Title Max store that has become the poster child of the flood. And then it meanders down Gills Creek into one of the most devastated residential areas in the county. It's an unincorporated portion of Richland County, and you've all seen it on TV, and if you haven't, some of these pictures, Timberlane Drive off of South Bell Line. I have had the honor and privilege of representing those people. They have been Herculean in what they've had to go through. We have two folks that attend every single county council meeting, and so Richland County Council is constantly reminded of the human face of this flood because they're sitting at every single meeting. But let me give you quickly just an overview of what we did and our approach to this. Very similar to what the city did. We first figured out we couldn't do it all because we were going to have to deal with the feds. So we hired that guy back there, Pat Beekman, who's with Tetra Tech, who's a consulting firm that handles, and he has been on board with us now for 11 months now? About 11 months. We also found us an expert in the area of emergency, Mike King, who's with us today, who is our flood coordinator. But we said we're not going to do this by ourselves. We're going to engage the people who are actively have suffered from this flood and the ones that are trying to fix it. So we empowered what we call a blue ribbon committee, and I hate that term. You know, anytime you want to ruin something, you appoint a committee. But we appointed a blue ribbon committee. In 18 years of serving in public in the government, I have never seen a committee where the members have been more faithful, have been more committed, more dedicated. And that committee includes not only it includes all the other incorporated municipalities, Eastover, people forget about them, Forest Acres, Arcadia Lakes, but it also, and it includes all of the VOADs, the volunteer organizations. They have a representative on the committee, but it also includes flood victims who are there to keep us honest every step of the way. That group has continued to meet every month. They have been vigorously engaged in us participating in development of our CDBG DR money, the money that's coming from HUD, which we've been very successful with. We've completed all of our hazardous mitigation grant proposal funding. I got it right that time. You get tied up with acronyms, folks, and you get the HMGP money and the CDBG money. So everything has been done. So where's the money? The money just hadn't gotten here yet. And it's sort of hard to look at the face of those people out there who have been displaced now for 11 months and tell them the money's not here. Now, everybody's doing what they can with volunteer money, with volunteer services, dollars, and so forth and so on. But that's not enough. And when I got a call from Anita Floyd and said, hey, we've got something new, I said, I'll be there. And I hope that y'all are going to be there. So many of you are the ones that have been out doing the work. I really appreciate the media being here. We need to bring this back before the public again. So we thank you for being here. I'll close with one thing. When I leave the house every morning, my wife checks out my appearance. She's my chief of staff. I said, was this tie too overwhelming or whatever? And she looked at it and she said, you know what? She said, at first I thought you wore that tie because of the raindrops on it. And she said, then I realized it's because of the tears of the people that you're going to try to help. That was a pretty powerful thing for me. And I hope you'll take that in mind today when you go out and you're asked to participate in this program. That's what we're doing it for, is those people who've been totally displaced. Now, on the positive side, last night I was going home, attended Leona Plow's funeral yesterday, who shares the Lake Catherine area with me, and I hope Leona will get to work up there. But it was a very sad day for me, and I was going through Lake Catherine, and I was driving down Kilburn Road, and I said, I'm going to turn down Rickenbacker. Those of you who know the streets over there, I said, let me just turn down there and see what's going on. And I tried to get over to Burwell, but the streets were all blocked off. And those people in that neighborhood that have been beat up worse than just about anybody can be were having a celebration last night about their neighborhood coming back, and it made me feel good. I don't know whether, I didn't see the news last night. I don't know whether there's any media coverage about it, but it certainly made me feel good. So let's all get on board. Let's see what we can do about this project. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk to all my helper and friends that are out there, and I'm going to count on you. Thank you. Wow.
I'm afraid I'm not a gifted public speaker, and I will not use any acronyms, I assure you. Business world, I can't think of anything we hate worse than acronyms. And as far as blue ribbon committees, having served on a lot, I would submit that a giraffe is a creature committed by a committee. You know, I mean, if y'all have gotten something out of that, that shows how important this is. I'm Stuart Mungo. We run a local home building company here. Our home base is in Columbia. When this started a year ago, it was like very obvious that the federal help, the state help, these are going to take a long time. We had an early meeting. We had a small core constituents of people that realized the urgency. Everybody pulled together. You know, we had people like Homeworks that this isn't what they do, but they adapted to what we needed. You know, I mean, wow. You guys stepped up. The St. Bernard group came out of nowhere. Said, well, we'd like to help. We don't have a place to stay. We found them a place to stay. I get complaints that there's so many kids staying in this house, which, you know, I had a guy the other day who's 92, said, you know, are y'all going to move them? When are they? I said, well, they're really helping, and he was good. We're having a telethon at our office starting tomorrow to hopefully try to find private money. We encourage you. These are our friends. These are our neighbors. This transcends political subdivisions, which county, which town, which city. These are our friends and neighbors. And the beautiful thing about this issue, if we can get these people back in their houses, they're made whole. I mean, they don't have ongoing problems like homeless and the other situations that are just tough. This is an easy fix. We just got to come up with the money. So, you know, I encourage everybody out there to dig deep. This is really important. Our family foundation, Michael J. Mungo Foundation, we're going to pledge an additional $100,000 towards this, and hopefully we'll have some other major announcements from other people in the next few days. But please help your neighbors and friends. This is really important. Thanks, guys.
Good morning. My name is Michael Season. I am a lawyer with the McNair Law Firm. I'm humbled to be up here in front of you today. I appreciate being involved. The nice thing about following so many wonderful civic and community leaders is that you folks in the media will likely put one of them on the news tonight, not me. As you could tell, I have a face for radio, so I do appreciate that. It's been a year. It's been a year since the floods, and the other nice thing about going last is I don't want to repeat things that everybody else has said, because I think some very wonderful and insightful words have been spoken. What I do want to do is I want to talk a little bit about time. It's been a year. The morning of the flood, I live in Forest Acres with my family. The morning of the flood, about 4:30 in the morning, we had a massive tree that fell on our house. We have a creek next to our property. The creek rose up, overwhelmed the roots of the already saturated ground. Tree fell on our house. It was about an 85, 95-foot oak tree. Caused a lot of damage to our house. Most of the nightmare of getting up at 4:30 in the morning is you have no idea what's going on, and then you start seeing water coming through your ceiling. We spent majority of the morning between watching the news, just springing into action. See the water coming through the ceiling, moving furniture, moving things, valuables in the house. At some point, the ceiling collapsed. Ceiling collapsed, sheetrock collapses. It was in the front of the house. There were about 8 places in the roof that the tree had breached. I spent most of that morning just bailing, filling up coolers, big 65-quart coolers. They'd fill up with rainwater about every 5 minutes, have to be emptied out. I think we used every single towel in our house, bath towels, dog towels, beach towels. Didn't know I had so many towels, but we did. And so after the rain stopped, it was a matter of what to do next. My family and I, after making sure that we were safe, we started repairing our house. We got the tree cut. We started calling contractors. We did the things that we had to do. We also helped our friends and neighbors. The tree was taken down in about 5 or 6 days. The roof of our house had tarps on it. We had, like I said, a lot of holes. We had those industrial-sized blowers, you know, the ones that suck out all the moisture. They ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 5 weeks, 33 days. We made a decision that night or that day that we were going to stay in our house. The damage to our house was the foyer, our master bedroom, living room, hallways. The front part of the house, the back part of the house was okay. Bedrooms were okay. We have 3 boys, 2 dogs. We decided to stick it out. We were going to move to other rooms. I'm a guy made for a king-size bed, but we had to move and make adjustments. The first couple nights, it was novel. It was interesting. We were in different rooms, doubling up, tripling up. The dogs thought it was kind of weird, but we made do. So the blowers ran for about 33 days. The roof was repaired 7 weeks after the flood. Now, contractors who were very responsive, we contacted them at 4:30 in the morning. My wife's on Facebook posting, know anybody? The contractors were very responsive. They were overwhelmed. They were overwhelmed by the amount of work that had to be done. So the roof was fixed in 7 weeks, which is 46 days. The inside of the house, the sheet, and by the way, when your roof is tarped and it's November, it does get chilly. The sections of the house that were damaged were cordoned off with plastic sheeting, but it still feels like you're outside. Sheetrock and the inside stuff was done in the house before Christmas. 2 months, which was 10 weeks, which is 67 days. That was the first time that we were able to get back into the other rooms of the house. That was the first time that it wasn't novel anymore, right? We had to go on with our lives. I had to go to work. My kids had to go to school. I had to get up every single morning just like normal and get ready. I had to come home at night just like normal. 67 days until we got our house back in that situation. We moved out of our house because we had to finish doing work. In the middle of February, that's when we finally were able to move everything back in. We had to move all of our stuff back in, all of our carpets in, furniture, etc. 5 months, middle of February. 20 weeks, 136 days. Now, I point that out because a year seems like a long time, but a year is 365 days. It wasn't novel after 5 or 6 days. It became trying. It became unfun. But we soldiered on because we had to. Greg had talked about visiting Rickenbacker. My cousin lives on Burwell, and their house was subsumed by water. They moved out of their house. They moved somewhere else. They moved back 2 weeks ago. They were at the celebration. 136 days was something for me to undertake. I can't imagine being out of my house for almost a year. 365 days. So that's what this is about. I was fortunate. My family was fortunate. We had the resource. First of all, we had a tree on our house. We weren't inundated by floodwaters itself. We had different resources. We have homeowners insurance. We didn't have to depend on flood insurance. We didn't have to to understand what the limitations of flood insurance are as far as rebuilding what you have, not just your house but your contents. We didn't have to rely on FEMA. We don't have to rely on money that is coming in, slow to come in. But it's still an undertaking. The goal this year, by the way, restoring hope. $2 million is what the goal that's been announced to the community. What we want to do is we want to rebuild and repair the homes, help the folks that Mr. Mungo had mentioned. We want to put them back in their houses. 1,200 families in the Midlands are still not there. It's a year-long effort. It's not going to be simple. It won't be overnight. It won't be this week. It won't be this month. Hopefully, over the course of the year, we'll raise that $2 million, hopefully to put 250 homes back together. We need your help. We need your help. We need your financial support. You've seen the website up on the screen, restoringhopesc.org. And I hope that there'll be opportunities for the people and businesses in the community to contribute financially. I hope there'll also be opportunities for folks to contribute in other ways, through volunteer spirit, tremendous volunteerism in the weeks after the flood. You had large numbers of groups, both from the faith-based community, the nonprofits, students. You saw all of that. We want to continue that kind of spirit, because if you can't contribute financially, you can swing a hammer. We'll put you to work. We'll put you to work. With that, I'd turn it back over to Mac, and that's all I have to say. But anyway, Restoring Hope SC is the website. Please feel free to visit. Thank you. Ladies
and gentlemen, thank you. I do want to recognize the This work does include our friends in Lexington County, and several of them are in our audience today. Charles Guerin, who is the Director of Community Development with Lexington County, is here. Charles, thank you for being here as well. We got a lot of work to do. A lot has been accomplished. 86 houses have been repaired. $1.1 million alone has come through United Way and been deployed. We need to raise another $2 million. We need to get at least 250 people back in their homes. I believe this community can do that. And I know if we touch the right people, we touch the right organizations, the right corporations, the right faith-based groups, and we get them behind this project, we can repair more than 250 homes. We're asking you to stand with us today and make sure that happens. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for our partners in the community. Let's go to work. Thanks.